Pliers are hand tools used to hold objects firmly in place while working with them. They also can be used to grip, cut, crimp, compress and bend various material and work pieces. Pliers are available as many different types and sizes. Pliers only have a few parts, but each part has an important function. In a few cases, the parts may vary to complete a specific function. Jaws or nose is the working end of pliers and the part that varies most from type to type. The fulcrum or pivot point. Not only is this the place where the handles and jaws connect, it also serves to create enough force for the jaws to perform their function. Cutters are sharpened section of the pliers which generally located close to the fulcrum, and are used for cutting wire and cables. The pipe grip is a rounded, serrated, cut out in the jaws. It is primarily used for gripping rounded stock, like pipes, and cables. Handles are the part you hold. Handles can be either straight or curved, and are usually coated with a material for better gripping, but they can be bare metal as well. When you need to grip, position, twist, cut, tighten or loosen various things, pliers can cover a pretty broad range of applications. Because of their general design, there are many different types of pliers tailor-made for particular applications. Combination pliers are multi-purpose pliers, combining gripping jaws with wire cutters. They can be used for gripping, compressing, bending, twisting, extracting, and cutting various materials. Combination pliers have 3 separate sections in the jaws. From the tip, the first part is a serrated gripping surface. A round serrated section behind this makes gripping tubes and other thick round objects easier. Finally, the section closest to the fulcrum contains a cutting surface. The long handles balanced against the shorter jaws means they amplify the pressure applied to the handles, so a greater pressure is produced by the jaws. The greatest pressure is produced nearest the pivot point, which is why the cutter is positioned there. Lineman's pliers, often mistaken for combination pliers, the lineman's lacks a rounded center section in the jaws. The lineman's pliers jaws have a shorter gripping surface towards the tip for gripping flat objects, and which also allow electricians to twist wires together. These types of pliers include side cutters that allow the user to cut wires. Due to the multi-tool function and strength of the jaws, this tool can be used to bend, twist, and cut metal that might be too tough for other pliers. Needle nose pliers will have a longer jaw that tapers down to a point, and contains a cutting edge near the base. Needle nose pliers are used for handling extremely small parts or reaching into highly restricted areas. Needle nose pliers can be used for bending wires, holding fittings, placing fasteners, and even cutting. Needle nose pliers are available with short or long noses, and with smooth or serrated jaws. Bent nose pliers are similar to needle nose pliers, but the jaws are bent at the midpoint, usually at a 45 or 90-degree angle. Bent nose pliers are commonly used for electrical work where bending and shaping are necessary, and for working in spaces where the angle is too hard to reach with needle nose pliers. Bent nose pliers are available with short or long noses, and with smooth or serrated jaws. Flat nose pliers are also known as duckbill pliers. The flat, tapered jaws of these pliers are used for gripping and twisting wires and metal. It's a common tool in both electrical and mechanical work. They can easily make sharp bends and right angles with wire and also work well for straightening bent wire. Flat nose pliers are available with short or long noses. This type of pliers has a slip joint rather than a fixed rivet at the fulcrum. The slip joint creates an adjustable pivot point that allows the jaws to be adjusted to grasp different size parts. The tip of these pliers is flat and serrated for gripping flat surfaces. Just below the tip, the jaws are curved out for gripping rounded surfaces such as pipes and rods. Slip joint pliers are used for general purpose work, for holding flat or round stock, griping materials, and cutting soft wires. Side cutting pliers are also known as diagonal cutting pliers, and are a staple in electrical tool bags. Side cutting pliers have curved handles, lap joint, and diagonal cutting jaws. Side cutting pliers are used for cutting wire and small diameter materials. Locking pliers are also known as vice grips. As the name implies, the jaws of these pliers are designed to lock in place, making them excellent for gripping stripped screws and bolts. Locking pliers are used for clamping, holding, and manipulating material and parts. They can also be used as temporary clamps in case of freehand is needed elsewhere. Locking pliers are especially useful for those stubborn bolts and nuts that are difficult to turn due to rust, corrosion, or excessive tightening. Tongue and groove pliers are also known as channel lock pliers or water pump pliers or rib joint pliers. Tongue and groove pliers are adjustable similar to slip joint pliers, however, tongue and groove pliers can open to a much wider position. The lower jaw can be locked into several different positions depending on the size needed. Longer handles for more gripping power when opened for larger objects. These pliers are used for turning large nuts and bolts, and for working with pipes and for other plumbing applications. Fencing pliers are an odd-looking type of pliers that resemble a hammer with two handles. Notches in the fulcrum allow you to cut wires of different gauges, while the side of the left jaw has a hammer surface for driving in staples. The claw of the right jaw can be used for removing staples, and the jaws themselves contain a gripping surface and a rounded grip hole. Grips between the handles hold the wire tightly, while leverage is exerted against the fence post to stretch the wire fairly tight. These pliers are used for cutting different gauges of wire and for driving in and removing staples. Nail puller pliers are also known as nippers or pincer pliers. They have a cutting edge at right angles to their length. They get a grip on and cut through anything sticking out from a surface. The tips of its jaws are tapered to allow it to dig under the head of nails and pull them out. Oil filter pliers have a C-shaped pair of toothed jaws, with one being much longer than the other. These pliers are used in the automotive industry to grip the oil filter for easy removal. Brake spring pliers are another useful automotive tool and are specifically designed for removing, replacing, and installing the shoe return springs on most drum brakes. One jaw tip on these pliers is large and rounded and curves inward for removing the springs, while the other is a smaller curve for putting the springs back in. Sometimes, one of the handles also has a ratchet to remove the shoe hold-down pin. There are two major designs of piston ring pliers, both of which are used to remove and replace piston rings in engines. The first design of piston ring pliers has simple curved tips on the jaws, that can be used to spread a piston ring for easy removal. This is a slick little tool for spreading the piston ring to easily slip it over the piston. Because of the low torque they use, they help to prevent damage to the piston rings. The second design has a much larger curved set of jaws with several braces, to support the ring and reduce the risk of warping. Snap rings are used to secure bearings, gears, and linkages. External snap rings fit into a groove on a shaft. Internal snap rings fit into a groove inside a hole. Snap ring pliers are also known as retaining ring pliers or circlip pliers or lock ring pliers, or C-clip pliers. Snap ring pliers have sharp pointed tips, which are used for installing or removing snap rings. There are two types of snap rings pliers, external snap rings pliers and internal snap rings pliers. Internal snap rings pliers are for inserting and removing snap rings which sit inside a bore. They work the same way as standard pliers. When the handles close, the tips close. External snap rings pliers work in the opposite way to internal snap rings pliers. When the handles close, the tips open. They are used for snap rings which fit around a shaft. The narrow jaws of spark plug pliers are tipped with either insulated tongs or a cylindrical holder. As the name suggests, the tips grip spark plugs by the boot or plug wires, aiding in automotive repairs. Hose clamp pliers are also known as hose pliers or spring clamp pliers. These pliers are designed to compress hose and spring clamps, making the connection tighter. As a result, they come in a wide range of designs. The most common models have a peg-shaped tooth on each jaw, which is used to pinch the clamp. Straight flat band hose clip pliers are used to compress spring-type hose clamps in tight places. Locking ratchet action keeps the clamp open for removal and installation. The jaws are bent at a 45-degree angle, and the rotary tips pliers allow easy access to clamps in hidden or hard-to-reach areas. Flexible cable hose clamp pliers are designed to give you easier access to those awkward parts of your vehicle, without causing damage to yourself. They save time and they save your hands. Sheet metal pliers are also known as seamer pliers. The wide, rectangular jaws of these pliers are used for bending sheet metal and forming seams. The cast iron jaws grip well and are invaluable in forming a variety of basic shapes as well as hemming them. The jaw tips of push-pin pliers are wedge-shaped, to allow them to get under the pin cap of plastic anchors. By squeezing the pliers, the push pin will pop out, allowing for the safe removal of anchors. The jaws of welding pliers are similar to those of combination pliers, with the same tip as the jaws of needle nose pliers. As the name implies, these pliers are used heavily in welding-based trades. Welding pliers performs a number of functions, including spatter removal, gripping wire, cutting, and even hammering. Battery nut pliers are used primarily in the automotive industry for maintaining the bolts on car batteries and jumper cables. These pliers have short-angle jaws, the lower jaw is slightly smaller, and both jaws are thick to make them more durable. Serrated jaws firmly grip the battery terminal nut or bolt. Offset handles allow access in hard-to-reach areas. Works on both top post and side post battery terminals. The battery terminal spreader pliers are specifically designed to open a battery terminal, after the nut has been loosened and the terminal has been removed from the battery post. Wire stripping pliers are also known as wire strippers. These pliers are used to strip the electrical insulation from electric wires. Wire strippers work by giving you cutting edges in a circular or elliptical shape, to cut through just the insulation and leave bare wire when you pull the insulation off. Each hole gets a mark with the wire size it corresponds to. Crimping pliers are also known as crimping tools or wire crimpers. Crimping pliers have the fulcrum at the far end and are used to join two pieces of ductile material together, wire and terminal. Some crimpers are ratcheted, meaning the pieces you are working with will not be released until a threshold pressure is delivered. Wires are fed into the jack of the jaw first, then the connector. Squeezing the handles will break through the plastic coating and cause the two sections to deform, or crimp, in such a way that they stick together.